See. Room camera. That's it, yeah, thank you. What's
I said it's not working correctly.
Oh, switch it off then.
Yeah. Apologies, the room camera's not working. It was online.
There's the button. Hey, there we go. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to do this. I recognise some faces who attended the Edinburgh one I done a year ago, so there's some slightly different photos this time, but
I didn't make it because of the trains.
The trains went peaked on that night, so some people didn't make it. So yeah, Levenmouth reconnected. Some of the topics we're going to discuss is why the project, some of the development we went through, touching on the Project 13 model that the project adopted. I'll look at what we went through from a design perspective, construction, and then touch some of the EIS and some of the photos once we attended the opening ceremony. So yeah, why the project? So I think a lot of people at the time that area of Fife had fairly poor transport connections to the wider part of Scotland. The local people had poor opportunities to access higher education, go to university or college or whatever, getting out of Fife for a day out to Edinburgh or whatever. Maybe that was by design. And opening up employment opportunities in wider Scotland as well. And at the time, when I was making these initial slides for Edinburgh, to get from Leven to the Scots Guard Club would have been an hour and 39 minutes to go 19 miles as the crow flies, because you've got to come inland over the bridge, back out again. You're going, you can see Leven from Edinburgh, but shame there's a big river in the wake. So through the development, the existing constraints that we had was all the track was majority a single line. All of it was life expired. It was bullhead on timber, crippled joints. Everything was neglected, well obsolete. From a civils perspective, there was varying structures on the site, 9 under, 6 over, various retaining walls either in the river to hold up the railway or at the railway side holding up the existing farmland. Virtually no drainage lines either. Sorry, track drainage on the route, but various culverts that we had to contend with. There was the Clonmar platform at Cameron Bridge. The signalling for all intents and purposes was life expired as well. And it had contained working controls as well that wouldn't suffice for reopening. E&P, very little again, and from a telecoms perspective, there was a GSMR mast already on the branch, but it had been switched off for a number of years. One of the lessons that we took from the Aberdeen-Inverness redoubling project between Aberdeen and Inverurie was determining a corridor cross-section from day one. This took a lot of arguments and discussions to agree on what this looked like in terms of by the time that you fitted in drainage systems, walkways, overhead line, whether it was a cutting, whether it was an embankment, etc., etc. Eventually we got there, and in a whole series of clash detection exercises were carried out to pinpoint where the tight points were. That then allowed all the disciplines to focus on these tight areas and not waste much time on the areas there was no issues. So through the development from the track layouts, we looked at all sorts of various options, working with the ScotRail timetablers. We looked at a fully doubled line, excluding the connection to the main line at Thornton North. Is there a Call branch, which had the predominantly single line with either a static loop or potentially a dynamic loop, even all single to take the costs right down to a minimum. But that was discounted due to the timetable constraints. And then we also looked at what does Thornton North look like, knowing that when one of the lessons that was learned from Borders was Portobello quickly became the bottleneck, and both Thornton North quickly become the bottleneck for this. I don't think it has yet, but it might come in the future. Stations. So the two stations we had, there was 5 different options looked at for Cameron Bridge, 7 different options for leaving, and as it says there were A and B options for whether it was a flanking platform or an island platform. And then there was various heritage connections, earthly connections looked at as well down there. So I'll quickly cycle through a lot of these options that we had for Cameron Bridge, but it shows you all the different constraints that we had. So option 1 was to try and get the station sited on a straight, which makes maintenance life easier, construction easier, design easier. But we needed that big parcel of land for the car park. Option 2 brought the station closer to the villages of Windygates and Cameron Bridge and Methil Hill. But again, we're now on curvature, and that was kind of a forced 1,000 metre radius curve, which wasn't very good, and we still had to go and buy that field for the car park. Option 3 was looking at reusing the existing platform. That had its own challenges again, but again we had to buy third-party land for the car park. Option 4 moved it further east, which was east of the main road there that links Kirkcaldy to Leven in the wider area. Better transport links, but again we're now on curvature, but out with the existing corridor to get it on a 1,000 metre radius curve. Option 5 forced in another straight, but took it offline. We then had to construct a new bridge and so forth. And then this regulation came in, HOMA. So as it says on the tin there, control of major accidents and hazards. We must take all necessary measures to prevent major accidents involving dangerous substances. And because we're right on the doorstep of the distillery, we're in that distillery's coma zone. So this one, does anybody know what that is?
East Life?
No. Falkirk. So I've been told the reason that Falkirk don't have a 4th stand has got nothing to do that they don't have enough fans. It's because it's in the coma zone for the Grangemouth refinery. I don't know how true that is, but I didn't.
Once halfway up the pitch, apparently.
Yeah, so that's the knock-on effect of large people congregating in the one area. So that disregarded a lot of the options that we had that were close to the distillery. And there's the bubble map of where the 3 options that we had. So HSE pretty much said no chance. It's not something you can derogate against, which kind of makes you wonder why there are houses in that area. But so we then had to go and look at an option 6 for Cameron Bridge, but we had to keep it also within the corridor because we wouldn't get a TOS order in time for the job. So we had the aim of keeping the sleeper footprint in the train envelope within the fence line to avoid the TOS order. We reduced the line speed through this area, and essentially the radius we had through the platform was 415 metres, which is relatively tight. So this is what we built. There was a couple of derogations we had to go through in terms of location of new platforms. The rationale being that new platforms shouldn't be on anything tighter than 1,000 metres. But after having discussions with the RSSB, that was all essentially all to have safe dispatch of the trains. So if we could come up with another means of safe dispatch, we could go down to that radius that we had. So as I've noted up there was the X and Y's that we went for. The gauging was all compliant, stepping was all compliant. The only condition is the TOC had to agree to what the safe dispatch mitigation would be. So we eventually decided to copy what they'd done on the Stow station on the borders, which was instead of driver only operated cameras, it was conductor cameras. This one was the final option we went with leaving pretty much as close to the bus station as we could to try and keep that transport interchange as seamless as possible. We did look at flanking platforms as part of this one, but it was to do with the fire escape time. There was no secondary means of escape for flanking platforms, so we had to copy essentially what's at Tweed Bank. For those who know Andy has some good sayings. So painters doing the painting and joiners doing the joining. For many a year, Andy would bleat on about this as let's get the right contractors doing their specialist thing. So guess what? On this one we did. So we had, I know we've got QTS, Stevie representing them tonight. So QTS were doing all the geotech work as it's a specialist subject. Story were doing the structure refurbs. Amco were doing leaving platform. BAM done some structure refurbs and Cameron Bridge Station. Rail Systems Alliance done track and drainage. And Siemens done signalling and operational comms. That was that. Once we moved into the design, there was 4 phases of the track design, broken down into those that are on the screen there, just to keep it manageable. 6 miles of track in one full hit would have taken forever, just to make it as efficient as we could. CWR jointed, as some of the pictures that you see later on. The track is rather curvy, so we were certainly in the territory that CWR is. The curvature's too tight for CWR without other mitigations. So we've done a bit of vampire analysis to prove that the CWR jointed track suitable. What was the best? Do we need check rails? CWR was proven to be the better solution because it reduced twist faults and flange climb and in turn derailments. We didn't have to put in check rails because the risk was deemed low enough, but to go for CWR, the only option that was there was LERPs. The initial count of LERPs we were up to 16,000. We would have needed. I mean, these things are almost £150 a pop just to get them to the access gate. The money soon racks up. So what we proposed was strengthening rails in the forefoot. So in the world of where the radius was greater than 500, normal 28 sleepers to the length, 450 ballast shoulders. We were in the world of 401 to 500, 30 sleepers to the length and a wider shoulder. And where we were less than 400, it's strengthening rails and guardrails in place of a LERP. Sleepers will put 30 to the length and wider ballast shoulders, except where we had the pesky 4-foot signalling equipment, which left us another challenge to manage where that discontinuity occurred. So photo on the left, that's what the solution looked like. Photo on the right is where we had the 4-foot gaps to put in. So we had an overlap with LERPs where they placed, which worked quite well. As cost challenges were in the early days, there was challenges of, does it have to be concrete? Can we look at other things like steel or timber or composite? So concretes were the one we picked eventually, but they were probably the all-round cheapest option. The steel sleepers were of a higher cost, but okay, you get less ballast quantities, but the cost was still more. Timber was ruled out. We couldn't install softwoods because the creosote ban prevented them being used, and then it was that environmental impact of putting hardwoods everywhere. And composites at the time were still fairly fresh to the industry, so we couldn't probably get the quantities that we required. Although we did end up using them on some of the under bridges where tight, the space was tight. Oh, wait. That was just some of the detail we used for some of the short-ended ones. So we had to simulate an EG47 GR2, which is why we've got packing pieces under some of the panel ones, just to keep them the same soffit height. Gauging, so all the structure gauging met the H-SLOSH requirements that the Transport Scotland wanted. Passing was all based on a nominal 1976 foot. A couple of the bridges we needed to go tighter, and through another couple of the bridges we had to go wider, just because passing was being infringed at there. Platforms all met 7016, and there was a requirement for managed track position. After we were finished, it was a cross section of one of the bridges, show how tight it got. Track bed, there was various options we had to, or various solutions we had to put in place. But about a nominal 250 ballast, we had stiffness transitions for all the under bridges and shallow UTXs with various amounts of geogridding things put in place. Again, there's one of the cross sections through one of the bridges, so a wider 6 foot, but we couldn't crown the track bed in the middle to feed the drainage for that one. Start there, I'll keep doing this, but so some of the reconstruction prep that we had to do was we took the decision to feed ourselves with our own trains rather than taking everything from Miller Hill, just because paths would have been nigh on impossible and those additional costs. So thankfully Thornton Yard was quite close to the job. Hadn't seen a train in numerous years, so there was a fair bit of fettling up we had to do. This one was the infamous Road 13 that we ended up picking because it was the closest road to where we were stockpiling all of our materials, and that's the magnitude of the sleepers that we had. So that's 20,000 concrete sleepers varying between G44s and EG47s. That's the ballast. Essentially, we emptied Cloburn Quarry. So that's circa 75,000 tonnes of stone in total for the job. We brought in 54,000 tonne to the yard. That was all delivered by train round a big circular route from Renstray to the site via back by Stirling Alloa on a 5 trains a week. So it was heavy going. Other ones with 168 strings of rail, 12 for going through bridges and stations. That was all brought on 7 trains from Scunthorpe. Over my glamorous assistant.
So, Chris spoke about the first process for the Rail Systems Alliance was basically to recover the existing track from Thornton Junction all the way to Leven. It was quite sporadic. There was areas that had already been removed. There was kind of double line. There was the photograph on the right hand side shows your old sidings and at Cameron Brigg Distillery. So basically the existing track was broken up into panel format and taken back to various nodal points throughout the project. Leven Heritage were actually looking for a lot of it, so they took a lot off their hands and used it to kind of fettle up their own sidings in their heritage railway. That lasted 3 weeks to get the site totally cleared of the old track. The construction phase itself, as Chris spoke about previously, it was split into different stages and campaigns. So the first stage for us was the refurbishment of 369 Alpha Bravo, which is basically connection for Thornton North Junction. To get trains into the job, to deliver my rails and my sleepers, etc., I had to get that basically back into kind of working order. So I had to renew the switches, crossings, do some spot re-sleepering, fix the catch points down into the first mile. That allowed us to get the RDT trains in, drop off for kind of first deliveries of rail and sleepers and ballast for the first mile. So that took us into the renewal of the first mile. The first question we always get is, why did we just do the first mile? Why did you just stop for a mile? So basically, renewing the first mile allowed entry from Thornton North Junction of trains into the site without taking control of the junction and basically taking what 6, 7, 8 taper trains in. So we could basically path in trains on the day, get materials offloaded and then back out. So the first mile, we started that in March 2022, I think it was. And that involved 1,400 metres of single line renewal. Photographs there, that just shows you some of the refurb works done at 369 points. That's the switchblades, some spot re-sleeping and some troughing works, E&P works. And then that takes out the construction of the first mile. So basically the methodology for the first mile was we had all double solemn. So we managed to get our materials in, offload some ballast to side tippers, get our sleepers laid out in bundles of 7. And that allowed us to work day shift in a green zone working environment away from the signal on your left hand side there. So single line working, doing your excavation, installing your bottom ballast, relaying your sleepers, and then the culverts were used to thread in the rail. Pictures of the tamper, Giedel trolley, everything was done with total station setting out, Giedel implementation for track geometry. So stage 1 was completed, we moved on to stage 2 to 4, which was basically the remainder of the job. At varying formation specifications that Chris spoke about earlier, so there was 250, there was 300, there was varying areas of soft spots identified in the track bed where we had 150 millimetres at type 1, 200 millimetres at type 1, so it was pretty varied from start to finish all the way through the job. Same again for the sleeper specifications, a mixture of G44s, EG47s, EG47 GR2s for the strengthening rails and guardrails, composites, a mixture of 28 to length, 30 to length, so it was quite a varied spec and what had to be managed on a daily basis to get the train loaded up in the correct configuration so that you knew exactly what you're relaying each day. And off the back of that, exactly the same for the rail. HP send 56, there was Coty send 56, there was guardrails, there was strengthening rails. So it's quite a challenge getting the materials logistically in the right position at the right time. So also stage 2 to 4, it involved the S&C installation. So there was new junction at L seat, which was 490 points, and 2 crossovers, 493 Alpha Bravo, which was called leaving west, and then 497 Alpha Bravo towards leaving platform, which was leaving East Junction. Coinciding with the track, there was also over 5,000 metres of line drainage. That was installed by ourselves, QTS and BAM. And finally, tamping, some FM works, buffer installation, and the full site was stressed to 30 degrees, which was the first time in Scotland we actually implemented the new procedure, stressing all to 30 instead of 27 degrees. So the actual construction phase differed for the first mile. First mile, obviously, we had the old Solom beside us, so it was offload directly into the Solom, recover the spoil, bring the materials in. Due to the logistics of the leaving area and the footprint was only like 4 or 5 loading points throughout the 6 miles. So it was a challenge getting the spoil out and the materials in. So it's basically broken up into different sections. So the picture on the left-hand side showed the kind of spoil recovery phase. So excavating machines would load into kind of boxes and dumpers, and they would ferry back and forward to a loading point, offload the spoil. Those would return the formation and bring in your formation treatment, and then we would compact the formation, as you can see on the left-hand side, and then carry out a kind of deflectometer test just to prove the stiffness of the formation before doing the ballast works. So same again, due to the logistics, instead of bringing the ballast in for train, we had to ferry the ballast in from the 5 or 6 nodal points throughout the job. So this involved burning dumpers and boxes back and forth from nodal points, unloading the ballast, and then closing and compacting with the roller. So once the ballast was relayed, the actual relay methodology was based on 1 train per day. So we managed to secure a train of 6 salmons and 8 coalfish to the job. So it's beginning to stay in Thornton Yard. It would load up with sleepers. We get packed in the morning and had enough sleepers to relay 24 length. So the process would always be you relay 12 length in front of the train. I'll show you that one there, it's probably a bit better. So you can see the logo at the top of the picture. The process would be to relay 12 length off the front of the train. We then thread in a pair of strings, clip that up. The spider would then fall back and relay 12 length off the side of the train. So you're collecting a staggered process of 12 length in front and 12 length off the side of the train. So every day the train would come in, relay the sleepers, get back to Thornton Yard, be reloaded for the next day, and come out and repeat the process. The other training we'd have was a set of auto ballasters. So when the day shift train was in, getting unloaded on site, the auto ballasters who'd been in Thornton Yard get loaded up with ballast for the night shift. And then it would follow the train out that came in, unload the top ballast, and vice versa for the next day. So that photograph there, that just shows some of the challenges on site in regards to the sleeper types. So that's under Bridge 2, which was a existing structure that remained on site, was to be refurbished. That involved kind of tight sleeper spacing there, so that's been reverted to the AG47 composites. So that just shows you the concrete's gone up to the overbridge and then the composites through the bridge itself. An aerial view there on your left hand side. Shows it a bit better there. So as the job progressed, if you know the area, it's the first kind of 4 or 5 miles is pretty much within farmland. So the people are leaving the Methil, knew there was work going on, but they never really saw a railway getting built until they got to this picture here. So the picture on the left hand side was actually a local councillor that took that for an overbridge. And he posted that on social media saying, finally we're getting some track coming to the Levenmouth area. So by that point, I think we'd maybe about 4,000 sleepers relayed, but nobody actually knew we'd relayed any track until the picture on the left hand side. So once we got to this point, this is when the kind of activity within the community started to kind of generate. We started to get a lot of news and a lot of people kind of showing interest in the site. This is just some photographs showing you the progression of the track that's been relayed. So just shows you the quality. I mean, that's track that's been relayed and it's not been tamped yet. So the quality is fantastic using the 3D installation, Trimble controlled. So again, track relayed on the day shift, and then all bars at night time stoning up in preparation for the tamper. We're lucky to get the triple banker tamper for this job, which again was a blessing in disguise, because I think initially we had over 120 tamping shifts planned, and when we looked into it and utilised the triple banker, we managed to get it down to about maybe 60 or 70 shifts in total. Again, just some aerial shots just showing you the curvature of the site and the logistics. So that's one of the compounds on the left hand side, one of the nodal points to get materials in and out. Just the kind of the topography of the site and the curvature and the closeness to the river, etc. So SNC installations I touched on before, that was all manufactured by Progress Rail. 490 points, which was Errol Seat Junction. That was a NR56F V-switch, 1 in 24 right-hand turnout, which was a bit of a monster. The second one was 493 Alpha Bravo, again, that was an F crossover, 1 in 24, and the final one was a smaller D crossover up at Levenmouth Junction. So logistically, all the panels were manufactured down south, managed to utilise the Lawson's Tilton wagons and get them into site. So they were basically offloaded prior to the job, adjacent to the track. Could then get a road crane in right beside it. It was basically a straightforward process of just paneling them straight in. Basically, this was the first mile, so it'd been plain lined. So we just basically lifted out the plain line panels, redosed it, and lifted in the new panels straight into the hole. Again, the quality there was excellent throughout. The crane operators played a blinder that day, and actually, I think single figure slews after it was relayed for the tamping, which just shows you how good an installation it was, especially for an F switch, which is usually quite a challenge. Moving on to 493 Alpha Bravo, this was the F crossover. So due to it being an F crossover, panels wouldn't actually fit in a Lawson's towing lorry just due to the size of them. So this job was broken up into small 3-metre slave panels that were set up. So after we laid the switch panel and the kind of the closure panel, we had to install temporary panels, take out all the rails, slave rails, and then basically build it in the hole from scratch. So it was back to the good old days of string lines and bars and laths and getting the engineers out and balling into position. It worked out great. Everything ran pretty much bang on the tolerance once again. The final one was the smaller one, was just the D crossover at Levenmouth East Junction 497 Alpha Bravo points. Again, we're lucky enough to get a road crane right in beside the job, panel straight in, lift out the plain line, just lift in straight over the fence. Again, good quality installation there, good tolerances achieved. So interfaces throughout the job, due to the amount of contractors on site and the varying different levels of construction. We had the containment station platform builds, Bobby Bridge construction in Levenmouth Town Centre, Woodbank, Farmers Crossing. Woodbank was a farmer that had a lot of land adjacent to the track, and also both sides of the track they had to gain access to. Other bridge refurbishments, as I spoke about previously, and also the drainage installation and OLE piling. So platform interfaces, there was weekly integration meetings. So Story, BAM, have a programme to construct the platforms ahead of the PWI works. So as we were kind of chasing along the first 2 or 3 miles, they were working ahead of us doing the platform builds. So it was basically integration meetings to make sure everybody was reaching our milestones, so that one activity wasn't holding up the previous one. So the picture on the left hand side there shows the drainage through the 6 foot of the new platform and platform build for Cameron Bridge. Plan being that the coping works would be done after the relay was completed. And just the picture on the right hand side there just shows you the issues you had trying to relay through a platform that's been constructed. Again, the quality through the platform there on the left hand side shows you the track going through it prior to coping. That's Cameron Bridge, the one on the right hand side, that's Leaving platform, which was Island platform. That one is the track sandwiched between the retaining wall to the river Leaving, the right hand side of the new platform. So touching Woodbank. So Woodbank Farm, the farmer had access to a field to the left hand side. If you look at the railway to the left of you there in the picture on the left. So actually the agreement was we'd install a wrap for him. That would allow him to get his farm plant across the wrap and into the field. So this was all agreed. Track rebalancing was completed all through this section. And then he decided, oh no, that's not good enough. He says, some of my plant's not going to fit across that wrap.
Or his livestock can't freely walk from field to field.
And he also, did you know, see the combine harvester or something that didn't actually fit across the wrap. So various negotiations were had, and eventually it was decided that he was one underpass. So we had to rip out the full formation works that we'd done, rip out the ballast, get back in and build this all singing, all dancing, fancy underpass, if you like, that I believe he's still not used today.
I think the animals use it.
So that kind of set us back a wee bit in regards to programme. Interfaces, so as Chris talked about previously, there's a lot of existing underbridges on the job that were deemed in a fair enough condition that all they required was refurbishment. So again, as the PWI works progressed, this was happening in front of us, so each deck had to be basically stripped back, redecked, sandblasted, repainted, primed, and then ballasted back up in time for us to come up behind with the track relay. Because it was the existing structures, these provided a few challenges. The pitch on the right hand side, you've actually got a straight bridge, but you've got a curve going through it. So you see how tight the sleepers are to the bridge there, and that's why it was changed to the composite EG47 sleepers. Another challenge or lesson learned during the project was the weather. We were quite unfortunate during the excavation period that we had a terrible 2 weeks of torrential rain. I think it was January 2023. The decision at the time was made to plough on, which in hindsight was a mistake because it basically turned the formation into a quagmire. And this was the result of, I think, 2 days of machines passing back and forward over the formation. So I think it was like a 300 metre section of track that we actually had to fully excavate down to about, I think it was about 800. Bring some hardcore, compact it, type 1, compact it, then had to prove its stiffness doing a deflectometer test. So overall, that week there we probably lost about a week's time to programme. Whereas in hindsight, we probably should have stopped at the start of the weather and just said, right, let's just take a pause here till the weather was subsided. Another challenge or lessons learned was the public. If you know the area, it's quite, how do I put it?
Rough rates here,
rough. Picture there, Steve, you'll probably know this one. I think this is one of his catch pits. So, few tests on a bit of drainage, and he came out falling up nice installation of drainage one shift, and the locals had put in the next night and thought that catch pit looks like a great place to have a barbecue. So, poured some diesel on it and just lit a match and sat back in the bank and just watched it burn. Some other instances we had on the site was various items at total stations stolen from site. Trespassing was a major issue because it had been a disused railway for so long. It naturally turned into a kind of dog walking route, public route for people making their way for Methil across the river near Leven. It's also been used as an off-roading track for 4x4s and quad bikes and dirt bikes. And didn't matter how many times we put a fence up, we came back in the next day for the fence to be ripped back down and quad bike marks up down the forefoot of the new track. Plant vandalism again. We parked up the tamper one night and came in the next day and the tamper had been vandalised, all the windows had been smashed. Don't know if you saw it in the news, but Leaving Heritage purchased was it an old NMT train, a TRU train?
No, test train, yeah.
Test train, and they shut the Force Bridge to get it delivered over to made the use was on STV. They parked it up nicely and the Heritage had all sitting lovely, and then the locals decided to smash all the windows on it. So it was quite a sustained level of attacks for the locals throughout the project, and I believe there's still issues there. So construction summary, the start to finish was 340 track wells in total, of which 140 of them were stress and pull points, again basically due to the curvature of the track. I mean, I think there was maybe 20 or 30 pulls down to the 100 metre minimum pull just due to the curvature and the geometry. And we utilised 98 engineering trains in total to get all our ballast, sleepers and rails in. So I touched on previously, 68 tapping shafts to get the full track tapped up to tolerance, which was probably about a 40% reduction in the original quote. And we managed to utilise the AFM to profile the full site and brush it and get it prepped and ready for stressing. So entry into service was completed on May the 29th this year. A couple of photographs of the fancy ceremony. You take the right hand side of its nice new wrapping to showcase the event. That's a picture of the Cameron Bridge completed platform on the day. And Mr. Swinney taking the limelight 3 weeks after he's elected into the role. And then just to show some before and after pictures, obviously it highlights a good job. So on the left hand side, that's from just north of the LC junction. The mail post. The bridge too, showing the before and after the refurb works. So to conclude, from a track perspective, it was completed the programme. Every track milestone was achieved, basically from stage 1 to commissioning. The track budget was under budget. We realised over £1.5 million efficiencies from our original pricing scope. That was basically down to the tamper reductions. We also looked at the rail being used for strengthening the rail and guardrails. We managed to get a lot of rails from the Rail Systems Alliance who were doing Canary rail sites that were inherited from Lost Delivery. So utilised a lot of that rail, was done away with chopping up brand new CWR into 30 foot to 60 foot for guardrails. On the project, track was the first discipline to close out all site snags, and as a result, it was the first discipline to achieve TOC. This was a Project 13 model that Chris spoke about earlier on. From a construction point of view, we agreed it was the right way forward. I think Steve will agree. I think through a collaborative outlook on site between other contractors, everybody worked together to get the job done. There was no kind of policing, if you like, of maybe sometimes you get a kind of client contractor kind of attitude, and there was none of that on site. Everybody was basically getting the job done. That was the main focus. Doing jobs for each other, which probably resulted in every milestone being achieved. Areas for improvement with Project 13, maybe the engineering assurance stage. Some of the designers for certain disciplines didn't maybe buy into that ethos, and it was probably a bit harder trying to get their buy-in. A few lessons learned there. Track design probably was the better one, where we sat down with the designers together to propose the best solution for each scope, also with cost in mind, whereas other areas, specifically drainage, was kind of maybe a gold-plated design, and there wasn't much kind of challenge back to say, no, why are you doing this, or this is the better option. So definitely a lesson to be learned there. Chris informed me yesterday that the 52-week DLP was actually finished this week for track. So the only snagging I think identified in the 52 weeks since TOC was some movement of breather blades, some loose bolts, and a minor switch blade lipping, which is quite surprising for a year of traffic. And overall, the conclusion, the public and community reaction has been absolutely fantastic, as you're probably aware of, in the news reports and social media reports, and the amount of good press it's been getting. I think the transport figures have shown that it's been a success, and one that they're looking to continue elsewhere, hopefully. So I think that pretty much concludes us.
You want to show that? So show the drone videos.
just we fly through the first couple of miles of track during the construction stage.
It's heading towards Leven.
Yep. So you can see there just the remoteness of the site and just the curvature.
So this site was known as Tullybreck Cutting, and this was probably the first pinch point that we came across. The QTS had regraded that and cut a cutting slope to the left, and there was also a bit of refurb work to the retaining wall and into the river there as well. So we had to horse trade on a couple of things in terms of how do we get that to work best, because we couldn't dig too low because it would then steepen the cutting slope, but we couldn't lift the track too high because you'd have to build the retaining wall up. So it was trying to find that Goldilocks part in the middle that each discipline was happy with. So from a track perspective, we had a continuous crossfall for that area, just to make it to work better, and rather than each low rail level being the same, the track's actually coplanar in there just to get that to work a bit better.
Did that involve any land take from the
I don't
field?
think it did.
No, I think that did. No.
You might know a bit.
No, it was soil nailed to keep it within the existing width. I think just when Jamie mentioned about lessons, one of the things looking at that retrospectively is that while there was a standard cross section agreed, it didn't really allow for much construction tolerance. So we ended up with some of the works along the bottom of the cuttings that to get revisited post installation.
These videos show that the railway's pretty much on the shelf between the river and the adjacent farmlands, so we're really constrained with getting things in and out.
A lot of that area is also classified as ancient woodland, which restricted access and cuttings and everything else from a geodetic perspective.
I think that's probably the most challenging area of the full site, just due to the curvature and the
Just
accessibility.
stop that part there. So that was a completely new retaining wall that was put in there. There was a lot of scout assessments done through this particular area to see that the existing retaining walls could survive. What's the speed in that section? 45.
45, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any triple SI?
I can't remember, but I think it was just maybe that woodland area was the
Yeah.
kind of most restrictive
Mhm.
part. That's coming up to almost 2.75 miles, and that's the first straight we had. You know,
Just go back to
I think that was it finished.
just go back next one. No, just go back. Just right at the end of the video.
You want?
Keep on now. Just you show Big Bank. To emphasise that farmer's crossing. If you pause it there. So earlier on we spoke about the farmer's underbridge. So where Chris has got the cursor there, he's got a wrap there. So you got an all singing, dancing, brand new Rose Hill wrap to access that small triangular field.
And that bit this side
And
as
this
well.
side as well. But, no, that wasn't deemed good enough. So the pictures that you saw of the underpass is probably just above that mast.
Midway
Aye,
through that field, isn't it?
Yeah. It hadn't been built at that point, but
so that's why the track stopped there actually. So we relayed up to that point and then we held it to dig all that out in a all singing, dancing underpass.
second video was
So that's the first mile. again, probably shows you the kind of the work's done, the enabling works, building haul roads, etc., and creating compounds. That was the double dykes compound on the left hand side, which involved a buyout of the field for the farmer, which is very plugged in an ecological zone, I believe.
I believe so.
Did the sleepers come up by train?
The initial batch that came on the site came by train, but the rest of it was by road. There you go. That's leaving now.
Let's open up the rest of the room. Any questions for Mr. Jamie?
Go on. So see, apart from where you needed shallow depths and guardrails, etc., was composites considered the majority, or why if they weren't, why weren't they? Why wasn't it just composite the whole route apart from these select areas?
It was discussed early doors, but I think because they were so fresh to the railway, if we went placed a 20,000 quantity order, they'd have probably fell over at that time. But then you've got to weigh up the cost of that as well, knowing that at that point that they were more expensive than a concrete. The concretes were more readily available as they've been stored in Tyne Yard or Kenmure Yard, for example. So it was just minimal supply.
Plus, we were one of the first sites to actually install them, because there was a lot of kind of people coming out to actually see them being installed and see how they were going to play up and analysing
There
them.
were some of the first sites that were installed at by the time we got that far down. So
Just a shame because we always say on the main lines doing a renewal, I was don't want a wee pocket them, so just stick with concretes, and there was a whole route that was too early for the development of the sleeper. But
See, on the flip side, have they started to do that in the lines? Have they done any jobs that are just all composite?
not when I was there, I left in April this year, but I kept pushing for composites, but it was always about a kickback, just saying no.
Yeah, we're specified jobs now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the way through?
Yeah, interesting discussion at kind of like senior level, because the network rail policy is now composites and not to do hardwoods.
No use Timberland one.
However, apparently they may be reviewing that. Industry players at play, I think.
You mentioned at one point OLE piles. Were all the piles put in?
vast majority of them
Yeah.
were. The plan was to put the masts up as well initially, but they cut that out to fund other things that had cropped up, like mine remediation, that caught us by surprise.
Was an OLE design done?
Yeah,
Part of the
it's sitting there ready to go.
Right, okay.
There's a lot like that picture lobes that got something to do with the electrification of the main lines. That will affect them or something. Something was cancelled
Could have
on that.
been, but it was just it was an initial plan was to get the masts up and have them sitting waiting.
Yeah.
So
The mass foundations put in.
yeah, the vast majority of them.
Are in. Right.
I think it was related to the kind of pause on the decarbonisation programme. So, if you put all the mass up there, there's nothing to plug it into in reality. And probably bearing in mind the problems that were had with vandalism and everything else, lots of shiny steelwork with nothing hanging off it might not have lasted that long.
So did you do most of that work day shift?
Everything was day shifts. It was only basically one shift per day. So initially it was scoped as a day shift back shift, and then it was basically changed for a 7 o'clock start to a 7 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
That was just one shift.
Did that have an impact on your safety record? Because I've been doing working day shift.
But they say that, so the stats were good. So that was probably one of the main factors that's people picked up on.
Definitely helped.
Because it was day shift working, predominantly the same guys there, because it was Monday to Friday as well. So there was no weekend working, it was just basically Monday to Friday, the same team turn up every day. So you get that same continuity of guys, they know the job, they know know the safety arrangements, the no plan. So you're not got the kind of different guys turning up every day, rebriefing them, and getting to know the site. So that definitely had a major factor on the success of the job from a safety point of view.
And even the ballast drops at night shift, it was always the same guys that were on it as well.
Did you day shift work affected quality as well? She kept saying it was super accurate with the crane work.
Definitely.
Has it settled down quite happily since it opened, or have there been any issues? Or
Yeah, there's been a couple of snags that have been picked up just as things have settled down. You know, I think the track recording trains have been over it maybe half a dozen times now. There's a couple of things that have flagged up on one run, but hasn't been there the second run.
Right.
So, you know, there's been a bit of liaison with the maintenance guys just to see what the actual problems are. But, you know, I think
the drainage has ever been okay? There's not been any problems.
not that I'm aware of, no.
First time I ever really heard about this project, maybe 15, 20 years ago, and at that time it was really centred around freight and till the Diageo at Leiden. Was there any provision made for future connection?
So there was various options looked at for a freight terminal across from the Heritage Centre at Leven, but at the time it wasn't progressed, but the space is all there for it.
Yeah.
We also had to provide future provision of ever reinstating the line round the Methil docks.
Right.
So there's space for a turnout if required on one of the platforms that we get across the bridge, across the Leven, and join up to the docks again.
Yeah.
If anyone ever wanted to do that. So
Yeah.
the whole line was built with freight in mind, so it's
Yeah.
essentially W12 and electrification ready.
And
Is there any consideration given to extent, I can't remember which where the platform is, but the one that is next to the river at Leven Station, actually building that on the old alignment and having effectively an ECS siding beyond the platform for excursion traffic? Because there was an excursion provision at one stage.
Yeah, there was. We managed to get that round, although the platforms are only 205 metres long. The platform closest to Sainsbury's, I can't remember the number. The signal stands off the end of the platform, so you can fit longer charter trains in.
Yeah, but they'd have to be top tail,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah. But that was all in agreement with the various charter operators that if they ever wanted to go down there, that's what they had to do.
There's one of the scopes, no, a half connection at the Heritage Yard.
Yeah, so there was talk of a turn back side in it, including the main line, and things could be serviced.
See also back to the Diageo ones, because we basically remote Thornton Yard. I was talking to Diageo.
Yeah, the insurance of interest.
Just interest in that
Yeah.
because it's sitting there. It's not been used since we walked away from it. A ready-made yard that with a bit of work they could possibly use that stuff.
Are there any plans for the future of Thornton Yard? Not really. No.
so we do run trucks from Breckenridge to Thornton. To the shame just for that 4 miles.
The work that your team done to remove joints and lateral resistance plates, which both come with their own issues, is fabulous. It's a shame when they've been revising the standards, they've not been taking that best practice on board, because it's certainly a much better way to run the railway than what we're doing just now.
Watch this space. So as part of the conditions for the derogation is we had to monitor it for a calendar year after opening. So that's just about finished, or maybe into January. We'll at least have a year's worth of data and seeing all the seasonal conditions that it's went through to prove that it's not moved. You know, so
I was wondering if there's total geeky, but I wonder if there's any difference between the lateral resistance force when you've got the rails and it changes to LERPs just for that small
That's
Because it's doubled up. Yeah.
I was just transitioning on one or the other and back.
There's going to be still mitigate it.
But it's better than
Yeah.
not
Better
at
than
all,
not
isn't
being-
it?
yeah, that took a bit of convincing and speaking to people who just get their thoughts on it, you know. You know, was four levels enough, was other overlap, or was 8 too much, or just trying to find that kind of sweet spot in terms of not too much, not enough.
There's going to be value in that cascading rails for other jobs and using it for your
Aye,
and
that
rails.
was-
There's got to be value in that.
I was better close saying that.
Aye.
It was high. No, saved a whole lot of heartache.
Chris, do you have any photographs of how you dealt with TPWS loops with your rails in the 4 foot?
There's another big one there, but yes.
An AWS?
Yeah, it was just the same.
Exactly the same.
Because there's specific requirements about distance of rail from TPWS loops in terms of it interferes with the loop if
That's
you have the
right.
rail too close.
That's right. Remember, there was an issue with one of them.
Yeah, and I think with that scenario there,
Yeah.
Steve, you mentioned with the rails are turned in.
Yeah.
By the time because there's a wooden ramp that goes off the end of them as well, so things don't get snagged. That gave us enough distance from.
Yes,
The-
I think
the
it's
grid.
I think it's 1 meter from the
Yeah.
end of the.
I think it was slightly less because we were down measuring them all because it was raised as a test log.
Yes,
And we were searching all the standards to see what the minimum distance and things like that were. But when you consider that the TPWS aerial, if you measure it to the running rail, it's okay that dimension, so it must be okay longitudinally as well. You know what I mean?
Somebody questioned whether the bolts inside the wooden block interfered with
Yeah.
that dimension.
No, it's the rails in the 4 foot that are the problem. Yeah.
Was this track circuit Doig, or was it?
Axle circuits. Yeah. The first mile was kept as DC tracks because it still was in the existing relay room.
Right.
Everything beyond that was then transferred to axle counters.
Right, okay. Was this a panel I did on
Oh,
test?
sorry, apart from then leaving station, that was DC tracks as well.
Okay.
That was a license learned from Tweed Bank.
Right.
To leave the terminus station was DC track circuits to avoid maintenance problems. Steve.
Same reason why there's DC track circuits at Dull Cross.
Was this like decided to one of the workstations in Edinburgh, was it?
Yeah, it was just accommodated on
Something to do with
workstations.
taking and giving up possessions around trains. You can't do it with axle counters, or you can't do it as easily with axle counters. DC track circuits is very straightforward. Because you positively know there's a train there or not.
See the platforms building them ahead of the track, and I take it they didn't put the copes into the final position.
No, so we laid the track tramp to maybe put that.
Because they're super accuracy, you can just walk away and go, this platform done.
I'm just trying to see if I can find the photo again.
It's usually always a fight when it comes to that, Gregor.
There is a wee overhang on the precast, so it looks like it, but it isn't actually. It's not
I'm still doing it.
slightly deceptive in the picture you're looking for.
This one. So these were probably classed as Z units. They were installed at Inverness Airport as well. So it was, taking that lesson learned because they were easier to build in situ. But every time you drove across the bridge and you looked down at the platform, you're going, that's never wide enough for two trains to fit through
Aye, look
that
right.
gap.
That's right. Aye.
And it wasn't until you started building up the ballast layers and filling everything else round about it that it actually, it is wide enough.
Did they have any issues with the track formation level? The sort of dumpers running on it in certain areas where you didn't have an access road?
Only
And also, some of it had haul road, some of it didn't, did it?
No, only that kind of one area with the 2 weeks of the bad weather. That was the only kind of area that kind of chewed up.
Yeah, the track bed was quite good. Yeah.
Aye. Out of the whole kind of footprint, the actual formation works was only like maybe 800 metres out of 6 miles.
Was it right?
The rest was deemed as acceptable.
Considering there was not much existing drainage there, that's surprising.
There was another section up at the gates, I think, that we ended up putting a bit of extra
Aye, that's right.
in it. But
Were they able to recycle, reuse any of the ballast, or did that just have to be cleared off?
There wasn't much ballast there to begin with. There was a little sash ballast, so it wasn't any good to to anyone, or it was just earth, soils and tree stumps and all sorts. It was very little decent material there in Levenmouth.
How much refurb work was done on the steel structures? Because I seem to remember during the development phase a lot of gnashing of teeth over the fact that because it was still technically part of the network, refurbishment of the structures had to have a renewals contribution because they weren't new.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the in-depth details, but they were all shot blasted. Steel repairs were required, and every timber deck was replaced as well to get the RA10 loading that was required.
I think the timber decks had been in a work bank from maybe about 10 years previous.
Aye,
And
and the
had
rest
been
probably.
repeatedly deferred.
Yes,
So
because
there
the line
was
because
something like
the line was mothballed. Yeah.
Looking at scope for it a long time ago.
Must have been so refreshing to work on a site like this where you can constantly improve what you're doing and not hamstrung by planning and stuff. It must have been really, really good.
It was just a breath of fresh air, see, because it was just. I think the day shift work pretty much nailed it. See, just everybody getting in, everybody starting at 7 o'clock, getting on with the job, packing up at night time, back out the next day. There wasn't any kind of pressure of 24/7 round the clock working.
Handovers.
It was just everybody did a daily plan. They stopped to the plan. All the issues encountered were pretty much solved quickly.
A lot of the people got their weekends back. They weren't having to work weekends, and work-life balance was quite good.
Overtime was crap.
Something 12 hours a day. So
Bit of a drive, mind you, to get through there every day.
It's just a bugbear, man. You want to go out and see a site, some planner try to make you feel guilty for you didn't think about it like 4 months ago. Just like, come on, try to do engineering stuff.
I've got to say, Stevens, the bakers made a fortune, didn't they?
Do you have any failures with tamper?
The only bugbear we had with the tamper was because they saw this as a nice greenfield site, they decided to throw junior operators out and upload us.
Right.
So these were operators that never used the triple X before. So there was instances where they just smashed sleepers left, right, centre. So there was a bit of a blind fight there trying to get shifts back and get money back for.
Or when the natives decided to set about one. It was pretty much every window was smashed and fire extinguishers were set off. And aye, that was a nice email we see.
Did you say there was an issue with the spacing with the tamper on some of the sections where the sleepers were tighter and you did?
No, they were generally fine.
Rails in there
Uh,
before.
the one concern we did have was whether the triple X was too big. The curvature was too tight. But no, it worked. It worked just as well, and that curvature is.
I think they've got lots to see the wrong with tight radiuses in the triple X when they get able to get the compact.
Aye, there was maybe the odd thing, particularly through the station. So for some reason, it didn't like through that station. But there was tighter bits elsewhere that it wasn't my problem. So yeah, the odd wee thing that still could understand why it didn't work, but we got there in the end.
Anything learnt in terms of like survey control? Obviously, there's not any overhead line mass when you're doing the stick control on it.
That was an issue. So because of the amount of civil works going on and ground works going on, we were constantly losing control. So we'd
It was the ATG team from
the whole team out quite a lot, reach state.
Re-establishing the control. Cool.
That's something I was going to ask actually. I should probably know the answer to this, but when it comes to managed track position, apart from the West Coast Main Line, which I know there's a sort of set process for getting the strings and the control information. And how does that work in terms of the handover of this project? How does it then disseminate down into the people who can use it?
That's one thing that still to be ironed out, but
Right.
it's more agreements rather than holding anything up. So
I think the intention was once the mats were up, tail spigots all the way through, and a grid set up.
Right.
But obviously, that's not happened, and a lot of the control now is just ground anchors that are on the wheel now.
Right, okay.
So we'll need to pretty much resurvey them.
Right, okay. Any other questions in the room?
No major formation issues like places you'd put in mega geotech and complicated.
Just the two areas that one you encountered up at
Windy Gates,
Windy Gates, and then the one we had, but
localised, but I think, yeah, it was a bit of that because you were running boxes, leading over it, and didn't set up.
with the mine workings that
the mine workings caused a bit of
so just
angst and upset, I think, didn't it? But I had to come back in and regrout those areas once the track was in. So it was a bit of a slurry fest in there, wasn't it, with mud and ground. Causing an issue, but got there in the end.
Anybody else? No. Well, thanks very much, guys. That was a great presentation, very interesting. And I enjoyed, Chris, you talking about the obviously here in the Cameron Bridge and the amount of discussions and how you came to a conclusion. That was interesting. And also the selection of materials as well over the line to the site. And Jamie, I was thinking that from your renewals background, it would have been a breath of fresh air to be able to work in that. I don't know if you call it a greenfield or a brownfield site, but despite the fact that there was a railway there very recently, in recent memory, there was still a lot of challenges there to bring up to modern standards. But yeah, a great project, and I think it's been a very successful collaboration between the different parties that were involved, and I think it's going to be a key piece of infrastructure for a part of Scotland that really needs to regeneration. So well done, and thanks very much for the presentation. If we could give a wee round of applause for the presenters today. Okay, all right. Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. And if you could stop recording now, that'd be great. Thank you.
See, it's the way actually.
Oh, can I stop it?
Try and stop, I'll just cut the call with it.
Right, okay.
Hannah had asked us to go through a couple of slides, and we should really go for them. On the PWI.
Okay, I can do that. Which ones were they? Was it the slideshow ones?
This is slideshow ones, yeah. There's not.
You saw got them on there, please. Aye, there we go.
Yeah, the annual quiz and AGM for the Edinburgh section is on the 8th of January. All welcome.
Oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm still sharing that actually.
Chris.
Yeah, I'm not sure when they hold their meetings. Does anyone know? It's
It's the Royal Scots Guards.
Scots Guard Club, the Haymarket. Yeah.
next date, the diaries. It's just on the next slide. Do you notice the couple of meetings still be filled, but it's obviously part of their AGM to do that. So yeah, and a note there on PWI technical training courses. A lot of people in this room have probably been on some of the feedback on them is excellent, isn't it? So there's design and S&C refurb, and I can't remember the other ones, but
The Danish one,
yeah, something get good feedback. So yeah, they also count towards. You can use them to get towards your I-Eng and C-Eng, etc. as well. So it's worth bearing that in mind. Free PWI membership for students and apprentices. So apprentices for students, try and get them to join the PWI, please. PWI offer professional registration. Yeah, but same as IC or IMECI or other bodies. I think we're on course to meet the 140 for 140 years of professional registration. So yeah, more and more people are becoming a professional with the PWI. Seminars in 2025, as it says, climate change, water management, electrification, track renewals. So PWI is not just about rail, it's about the railway system. And you can see there off track and electrification subjects the PWI covers, but also offers professional registration in those areas as well. 200 section meetings a year. So yeah, if you go on the PWI website, there's a lot of online ones you can attend, loads of online meetings and meetings like this. And we've also, most of the meetings you can now re-watch on our technical database, which I actually find really powerful. So if you've got a particular area of interest, like say you want to brief your own team on Levenmouth, which I might do, I'll load it up and then we'll just talk about it. Honestly, Chris, it's quite good for your team meetings for your technical staff. So it's something really to make use out of. And just a reminder there about the PWI. I've got various books on different topics. And I spoke about the Knowledge Hub, where everything that we do is recorded.
All right. Thanks very much for those who joined online as well. Okay.